So welcome to Zoom for Teaching and Office Hours. I wanted to record this and make it available to all instructors just in case you need this information. It will all be available at this bit.ly link as well. So if you keep track of that link somewhere, you will have access to the entire presentation information through there. And then this recording, of course, will keep it being available within CETL. So talking about accessing Zoom to start with, you want to access Zoom through zoom.uidaho.edu. It's a good idea if you go ahead and log into your account so that some of the settings that we discuss, you may want to turn them on during this presentation, or stop and go back and turn things on so that you can actively get something out of it while you're participating in this. I also linked the Zoom Help Center here, and the Zoom Help Center is really great because if I want to just search quickly for one feature within Zoom, such as polling, I can say, how do I poll for meetings? And it's going to pull up an overview for me that shows me exactly what polling looks like and basically demos everything about it for me. Okay, so real easy access to things within that link. So I want to start this off by talking a little bit about instructional immediacy. I think that it's really important for us to think about face-to-face versus online environments and how we can make our online students feel that they have immediacy with their instructor. So if you think about what is immediacy, it's the closeness, the perceived closeness between the instructor and the student. Often online students feel like they're sort of neglected, forgotten about, especially if you're in a situation where you have students both on campus and at a distance. You get feedback from the distant students that they feel sort of removed from the situation and removed from the class. So very important, I think, that we be seen and heard when we're in an online environment. So one of the things I do when I'm connecting with students from a distance, and this of course is, if they have the technology to be able to, I require them to use their cameras. Okay, so if we're connecting via Zoom, then I want you to turn your camera on so that I can see you. And then I'm going to ask you to use your mic from time to time so that I can hear you. So those are very important things. Fortunately, Zoom can be connected on an array of different devices. So I have a lot of students that connect via their smartphones. There is even a way within Zoom to connect on a regular phone. So in that case, at least we would be able to hear them but not see them. Okay. Using features that we'll go through today, like chat, nonverbal feedback, breakout rooms, and polling, are going to better support your students at a distance. And we'll look at what do those look like and how do you turn them on. Whenever it's possible, I think once again that you want to make time for your students to verbally participate in that class even if they're at a distance. So consider what that might look like. Also consider flipping your content so that when you schedule a face-to-face meeting, you're using all of that time for purposeful meeting, and things like they needed to read information before, or oh, here's this video, watch this before they connect face to face. That way you're limiting what needs to happen within that face-to-face time, and possibly shortening how long of a face-to-face time you need to get through everything that you wanted to do. So for instance, we have a lot of instructors now that really use the Zoom connection for discussing materials that the students already viewed through BbLearn. Okay, so maybe that was videos, maybe that was readings, maybe that was a recorded lecture that the faculty member already put on BbLearn, and the students were expected to watch that before they connected to the Zoom meeting. So the just different ways that you can think about to make it a little bit better for your students. So the meeting settings that I would definitely consider turning on are file transfer, polling, nonverbal feedback, and breakout room. And how do you access those settings? So when you go to zoom.uidaho.edu and you log in, it's going to look something like this. And if you go to the settings tab here on the left, you will see that there are tons of different settings within Zoom. Okay, and so to turn on some of those features, if you just scan down the page, you will start to see them. A couple side tips: some people don't like their students to private chat while they're in Zoom. That feature is auto turned on, so if you want to turn any of these settings off, easy to do that as well. Here's the file transfer setting. This allows you to send files through the in-meeting chat box, so that if you have a file that students are going to need to access during the presentation, or students have files that they need to share during the presentation, those can be shared straight through chat. If you turn that feature on, then it's available for everyone. Okay, let's see if we go down. Here's polling. Polling allows you to ask questions on the fly during your presentation, and then the feedback of what's happening with those questions comes up on the screen, and you can actually share that instant feedback with students at a distance too. Some of these, here's the nonverbal feedback, and I'll show you what those tabs look like, but that's going to give your students the ability to do thumbs up, thumbs down, yes, no, things like that, instead of having to chime in every time that you ask something. And then here is the breakout room setting. So I would turn that one on as well. That allows you to decide, oh, we're going to do this little group project, group discussions during our Zoom meeting, and it's a really easy feature to utilize, and you'll see how simple. Okay, so lots of different settings in here, but I think those are the ones that I would recommend. There are other settings that I will show you as well, and those settings are, you can get to those a couple ways. You can either get to them through the Zoom app and click on settings, or you can click on the Zoom meeting and get to them that way. So let me show you how to go about that. So I'm gonna, let's say, host a meeting with my video on. And here comes my meeting that pops up when I do that. So I'm not going to worry about connecting with audio right now because I already have audio through you. But you can see here in my meeting tab, let me make it a little bit shorter. There we go. That here's my tabs down at the bottom. So if I go next to this video and hit the up button and go to video settings, here's where there are other settings available. So now you can see me on the screen. For instance, I have my camera set to high definition. If your picture is looking a little grainy or something like that, and you go in and click Enable HD, then chances are it's going to clear up. Okay, so that may be one thing you want to use. Some people don't like when they're video mirrors, so you could turn that off if you want to. I also have touch up my appearance selected here, so that is something that you can use as an instructor if you want to, and it kind of smooths out your skin and makes it look a little better, especially when you have a camera right in your face like I do now. The other thing I will point out here is that there is also the option to display up to 49 participants per screen in the gallery view. So if you have a lot of students connecting at a distance and you want to make looking at them all at one time a little bit easier, you might want to select that tab. Okay, there are some other settings. So audio, if you need to test your speaker or mic, you can go in here and deal with audio. You can also select to mute your own microphone every time you join a meeting, just in case. I have some people that do that. Here is the recording setting. This is very important. If you are going to record your meetings, you probably want to designate where those meetings are going to go. So right here, you can see that mine are under Documents and a Zoom tab. But if I select to change that and hit open, it's just going to shoot me out to my computer and let me select exactly where I want those videos to go. Okay, so very important to think about if you're recording, where's it going to go. Accessibility settings, I think, are also a possibility. One of the things that I like is to turn on this button that says always show meeting controls. And that means that anytime I am in a Zoom meeting, instead of having to hover at the top or bottom of the screen to see those meeting controls, they're going to be there all the time. Okay, so those are some other settings that I would consider turning on. So let's go back here to content. The other thing that I do for my students is that I create a Zoom presence in BbLearn so that they have easy access to be able to connect to Zoom. Okay, so you can think of creating a Zoom presence for your class meetings, but then also possibly creating a Zoom presence for your office hours. Okay, in order to do that, you're going to want to use the recurring meeting function so that they're utilizing that same link all semester. So what does this look like in BbLearn? Well, if I'm in one of my BbLearn courses, you can see that I actually have a tab which is called Zoom. And if my students go to the Zoom tab, they're going to be able to click, and it says click here to join the Zoom class meeting. Okay, so that when they click it, it's going to take them right out there. So perfect. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to do to model this is show you what it might look like for an office hours meeting. Okay, so let me go back here to my meeting center, and I'm going to go to the meetings that I already have that exist so that I can show you what one might look like. So here's my ISEM 301 meeting, and I have it set up so that they can join before me if they want to. I have it set so that they're muted upon entry, and those things you may or may not want to utilize, but all I did was I took the hyperlink here and I pasted that hyperlink within BbLearn. So let's do that for office hours. Okay, so I could call it ISEM 301 office hours. And for office hours, it really doesn't matter when you designate them to occur, but you want it to be reoccurring. And then maybe you want it to end by a certain date. So we know that the end of the semester, it's pretty late here. I'm just going to put it weekly, and I'll say that it's going to end around then. Okay, so by making it a recurring meeting, that means that they can use that same link throughout the semester, and it's not going to matter. It doesn't matter what I have designated as far as times and things, because it will allow me to connect at other times as well. Okay, down here, what I would suggest for specifically your office hour meetings is do not select to mute participants upon, or I'm sorry, do not select enable to join before host, but instead select enable waiting room. Now, the reason for that is that it's a good idea to have your office hour students in a waiting room in case you've got back-to-back students. You don't want to breach confidentiality by having them overhear what's going on with each other's meetings. So if I take this hyperlink then and copy it and go back here to Zoom, I can build content, build a web link, and I can say click here to access Zoom Zoom office hours, and then paste it and submit. So now within that Zoom tab, they've got access to both connect to our live class and connect to the Zoom office hours, and all they have to do is click to get there. So hopefully this is helpful. In part 2, we will go through specific features and model how those work.